And you're way up, my friend. You need to be in the brown.
Oh, way up, Victoria.
You need to be in the brown. I'll adjust a tad, maybe. Maybe not. Looks like that wheel there. There we go. Now we're whistling. Okay, that works. Stand where the rope is. That's the center. Yes, good. Your clothes don't fit, so please roll your sleeves up. So you don't look like a slob. More importantly, so your hands can gesture properly. When your sleeves cover your hands, we just see sleeves flapping in the breeze. Okay. And the dark blue is a great contrast to the white background, so that's even better. Loving that, yeah. Okay, so do I have a timer?
Good. Are you cutting down? Is that how you do it?
Yeah, I'll just like put my hand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll count down.
Chloe was given 3 topics. One from Rosa Parks, one from Nelson Mandela, and one from Colin Powell. I chose, and I want to hear the quote from Rosa Parks. And she said, the only tired I was tired of giving in. I repeat, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Go.
Pressure. Peer pressure, societal pressure, pressure from our parents, pressure from our teachers, pressure from ourselves. We are faced with pressures every single day. And pressures can either motivate us to stand up for what we believe in and make a positive change in the world, or they can cause us to conform and possibly go down a negative path. The way that we respond to the pressures that we're given in life are a true testament to our character. Today I'm going to talk about the quote from Rosa Parks that says, the only tired I was tired of giving in. In life we are encountered with pivotal moments that challenge us, moments that can elicit a sense of power within us. And it is these moments and our decision to stand up for what we believe in and not conform and not succumb to the negative pressures that will be a true testament of who we are and define who we are. I agree with this quote, and I'll give you 3 examples of how this quote rings true. My first example is with Caitlyn Jenner. My second example, is with Caitlyn Jenner.
Alcoholics is the second one.
My second example is with alcohol addiction. And my third example is with
Colin Kaepernick.
Thank you. My first example is with Caitlyn Jenner. In 2015, Caitlyn Jenner came out as a trans woman.
You're just too close to me. You got to stay behind that brown thing. Okay.
In 2015, Caitlyn Jenner came out as a trans woman. This shocked America and caused societal uproar. Caitlyn Jenner was someone who was an Olympic gold medalist and won the decathlon. There are specific societal norms that Caitlyn Jenner felt when she was Bruce Jenner that she felt she had to adhere to be a man, to be that strong athlete. And at age 66, granted it took her 66 years to do so, but she was tired. She was tired of giving in to societal norms. She was tired of trying to adhere to what it is to be a man when she felt like she wasn't a man. At 66, she was tired and she decided not to give in. She decided not to give in to society. She decided not to give in to gender roles. So she decided to transition and become a woman. My second example The second example is
Too
with
close.
alcohol addiction.
Too close. Back up.
My aunt is 10 years sober, and for 15 years she was plagued with alcoholism. This alcohol addiction consumed her life, consumed her decisions, consumed her actions. It consumed the way she lived. It was the first thing she thought about when she woke up in the morning, and it was the last thing she thought about before she went to bed. At age 45, she called my mom, and she said she was tired. She was tired of letting the alcohol consume her life. She was tired of letting alcohol addiction decide every day how she was going to act and how she was going to live her life. And therefore, she decided not to give in. She decided to go into treatment, and she went to 6-month rehab, and now she's 10 years sober. She decided not to give in to the addiction of alcohol, and this outside source provided her an opportunity to not do so. My third example is with Colin Kaepernick, who was an NFL player on the 49ers and a quarterback. He made the powerful move in 2016 to kneel during the national anthem, once again causing a societal uproar. He decided that with his power as an NFL player, that it wasn't okay to let the injustices that he saw going around him just happen. He felt like he had the power to make a change. And he was tired. He was tired of watching racial inequality happen all around him. As an African-American man, as a football player who has a voice, he felt like it was his duty to do something. He was tired of watching inequality happen every day. So he chose to kneel, and whether or not you agree with that is not the point. He decided to make a change. In summary, I gave you three examples as to how individuals followed Rosa Parks' quote.
Yeah.
There should be no doubt in this room that when Rosa Parks said, I was tired of not giving in, that this is an important and true statement that we should all try to live our life to follow in Rosa Parks' footsteps. Pressure is something that is inevitable. Pressure is something that we're all going to be faced with every day. And we should not let pressure decide how we live our life. We should not let an outside source, we should not let an outside factor decide how we live our life. We should follow in the footsteps of Rosa Parks and not conform and stand up for what we believe in. Thank you.
Stay up there for your feedback, please. Very quickly, a like. In the rear.
I really liked your examples, and I thought that they really tied into your original quote. And I also really liked your intro. I thought it was really captivating.
Thank you.
Improvement.
Hi, I'm Pauline.
Hi, Pauline.
Your speech was really good. I would just say, just get your three things you're talking about now. It's kind of lost, but other than that, it's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you only get one chance to make a good first impression. Chloe, I like your speech. We're sort of short on time, so I'll go to mostly what I think you can improve on, if you don't mind. I'm not sure everyone knows who Rosa Parks is and what she's done. And so I thought, a little history lesson in the beginning would have been useful to know about the bus and the back of the bus, and not going to the back of the bus, and just tired of going back there, and la-di-da-da-da, and set that up for the things we take for granted now, the theaters, the buses, everything. She started it because she was tired. Okay. Then you could have gone into your peer pressure and this sort of thing, okay? What was the time?
4:55.
4:55, so that works. The significant statement was good. Caitlyn Jenner was a good example, and something that I think took a lot of courage, especially to undergo a physical change that she underwent, because it's one thing to, take steroids and get breasts, but it's quite another thing to lose your penis, and that's a commitment. To be blunt about it, right? Yeah. Love the story of your aunt, and tired of, living the phony life of escape through alcoholism. Colin Kaepernick, you nicely pointed out that not everyone buys that his kneeling is going to amount to a hill of beans or make any significant change. But very few people think that he doesn't have a right to protest and do it. But he does so at his own detriment, and this is what people have to realize. You can't have your cake and eat it too sometimes, And he expected a big multiple-year contract and still taking a knee, and no one wanted to touch him, right? Yeah. So let's not be naive. Your summary, your conclusion, and tie back were all good. You did a good job, and you did it within the time limit, and you didn't use notes. Thank you, Chloe. Okay, next. Okay, do I need to call on somebody or okay? Good. Okay, go. And who's on deck?
All good.
Very good.
Jason.
Jason Kaepernick. Okay. Jason, I've got to find you. Jason Gelfat, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Are they in order here?
I'm not sure.
No, of course not. And where's the question? It's not even here.
Yeah, it is.
Oh
It's
my
in my
God.
thesis.
This is number 3. Folks, if you could put your outlines in the order they appear on the sheet, it would save us significant time. Thank you. This is number 2, and this is number 1. Okay. Yep. Clickety-click. Okay. It's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, okay. I'm going to throw you a hard one because, you're a smart guy. So, let's hear number 1. Okay? I'm going to tell you that Jason Gelfat had a choice of a quote from Mary Hunter, from H.G. Wells, and John Steinbeck. And I've chosen the one from Mary Hunter that says, people would be surprised to know how much I learned about prayer from playing poker. People would be surprised to know how much I learned about prayer from playing poker.
Hi guys, I'm Jason.
Hi, Jason.
So when I was a junior in high school, my best friend decided to take me with her mom to Las Vegas. And they said it was going to be totally free, so I was like, why not? Like, that sounds awesome. And I didn't think anything of it, and then later on found out that the reason why it was totally free was because my friend's mom is a frequent gambler at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas, and her trip was entirely complimentary because that's their way of getting people to come and spend more money at the slot machines and to play poker. And so that was fascinating to me because I had never met anyone who had been in that position before. But it also made me realize how strong of a devotion there is to poker and how people are that serious about it when it comes to making money and whatnot. So today I want to discuss the quote by Mary Hunter Austin that says, "People would be surprised to know how much I learned about prayer from poker." And I will talk about why this quote is relatable in 3 ways. So the first that I will talk about is how defining a skill set can be almost a spiritual experience for people. I will also talk about the definition of prayer in the context of this quote. And I will also talk about how I believe that this quote is a metaphor for a lot more things in our lives.
Great.
This is a really significant quote because it really shows how much it means to find hope and dedication to anything that you're passionate about in life. So my first point is going to be what it means to have attention to detail and defining a skill set in anything that you do in life. So the thing about poker is that more than just remembering past hands in each round, the game actually starts from the minute you sit down at the table, because you're having to read everybody's facial expressions, you're having to read their physical appearances, and so it's a really intense thing to have to be able to read people throughout the entire game. But what's also fascinating is you're also having to have a keen awareness of yourself, because everyone is also doing the same of you. And so that's why I think that this quote is so interesting to sort of compare it to something spiritual like prayer, because prayer is also something that you go really inward while also expressing your feelings outward. So it really makes sense that there's these 2 parallels between the games and prayer. My second point is going to be about how I define prayer. So prayer is having a earnest hope for something. Now, that is less, obviously religious than we might define it in terms of religion, but that was my definition that was a little bit less religious that I thought was more applicable. So poker players have to have hope because you lose time and again, and it's so important to have the optimism that it takes in order to keep putting yourself in the position of potentially losing a lot of money. And so I think it's a fascinating thing because I personally would never choose to compare a game like poker to something like prayer. But when you understand what prayer really is, it makes a lot of sense that poker can actually become something that is all about hope and about making sure that you're optimistic and pushing yourself to get into the next game and that maybe next time you'll make some money. Which brings me to my last point, which is that, to be honest, I think that this quote in entirety has to do with the metaphor of life in general. Because you could look at life as a game, and the reality is everything that we do in life requires attention to detail. It requires us to be aware of who we are, but also being aware of the people around us. And it also has to do with having the hope that everything will be okay, and if it's not okay, then how are we going to overcome it to do better next time? And so, in summary, I have shown you 3 reasons why I believe that this quote is very accurate. I talked about how attention to detail is an almost spiritual experience. I talked about the definition of prayer, and I also talked about how it's a metaphor for our life. So, there should be no doubt in this room that comparing prayer and poker is actually a really convenient and useful thing to do. And even though we might have people in our lives that go spend a lot of money in places like Vegas, it's also really important to know that they're doing that because they have the drive and the willingness to focus on themselves and do what they enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. What was the time?
Exactly 5 minutes.
Okay,
Wow.
What'd you like? Quickly.
I really like
Name.
Ciela.
Hi, I'm Ciela. I really like the examples you gave, and there was like a really nice flow throughout your entire speech. It was very enjoyable to listen to, so you did a really good job. Hi, I'm Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey.
I thought that was, when he said the quote, I was like, oh dang, that's going to be hard, but you did a really good job.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think you needed to use the notes. I think you could have just...
I think I would end up just holding it.
Yeah, I don't think that it was even necessary to have. I thought you did a really good job.
I wish you hadn't, but you did.
It's just
so
But barely.
you chose. That's your free will to do that, and I encourage people not to use the note card. Your grade is higher when you don't. Jason. You talked about the high rollers in Vegas and flying out and this special treatment that you got. And I would have liked to have had more of a high roller tie back to all that wonderfulness that the casinos mesmerize you with to get you to come and play. So that was my suggestion for a better tie back. Mary Hunter Austin said people would be surprised to know how much I've learned about prayer from playing poker. I would have had you do a definition of prayer first instead of second. And let me tell you why. A lot of people pray, if you watch especially the Pentecostals or the Baptists or those sorts of religions, they pray to God for something. Give me something, hope, give me $100, give me something. And they pray for something from God. Please, God, give me something. And so I thought that the parallel of asking God for something and praying to God and asking for a good hand or a good dealing or a good thinking like that would have been a real logical way to start. Your first point that would have been a good second point about the details, and I liked that a lot. That was good. As for the metaphor of the many challenges of life, yes, what I needed to have done was just a little bit more work on how prayer helps us deal with the challenges and situations in life, and that similarly, a poker player learns to deal with the challenges of poker through the use of prayer. At least Mary Hunter Austin did. So your summary and conclusion, and I already talked about your tieback, were fine. Did you have goals?
Yes. I wanted to use my time more wisely because the first time I went way over, and then the second time I was a little under. And I wanted to make sure that I was speaking at a good pace, but hitting the time on the dot.
Yeah, well, I think you did a good job on that. Thank you so much, Jason.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Next. Thank you. Is this in order?
It is.
Very good. Troy Locatel, something. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, yeah.
First time. Try without a note card.
Excellent. Well, you're wise to do that. Okay. So, Troy was given 3 topics. One by Mary Hunter Austin. One by Jane Austen. Mary Hunter Austin rears her ugly head again. And a third one by the writer Jack London. I am intrigued and attracted to the second quote by Jane Austen, who wrote, "Nothing ever fatigues me but doing what I do not like." She said, "Nothing ever fatigues me more than doing what I do not like."
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, Dave.
I am exhausted. Maybe some of you are too. This is partly because the term's coming to an end, and with midterms and exams and all of that. But it's also because I've been indulging in things that I like. Now, Jane Austen, she said, "Nothing ever fatigues me but that which I don't like." And while I see what she's trying to say, I have to disagree because there's simply too much that I do enjoy that leaves me tired as well. I'm going to give three examples of things from my life that leave me tired in this speech. First, I'm going to talk about schoolwork, to give a little credit to Jane Austen. Like I said, I saw what she was trying to say. I typically don't enjoy doing schoolwork outside of class, but it leaves me tired regardless. Second, I'm going to talk about socializing and partying, which I enjoy and it leaves me tired. And third, I'm going to talk about watching Netflix, which leaves me just as tired as the rest of it. Now, if you're anything like me, walking like a zombie from class to class and function to function, it's important to realize that it's not just the things you don't like that make you tired in order to strike a proper balance in life. So, to start, I'm going to give some credit to Jane Austen in saying the things that we don't like, they're probably going to leave you tired. So schoolwork, every now and then there's an exception, like a 24-page midterm I love. But for the most part, I don't enjoy doing things outside of class. And I'll sit down for a paper, and even when it's going really well, after I'm done typing that thing up, I am exhausted. I just am. So I get that. But then that leads me to my next point. Jane Austen says that nothing that you like should leave you tired, right? So then why is it that when I go out and I socialize, or I party, or I do whatever, I'm just as tired as if I wrote a paper. And I go out, I really do enjoy it, but it leaves me just as tired as doing something that I don't like. And in case you think that it's because I'm overexerting myself, or maybe drinking, or something like that, it leads me to my third point, which is watching Netflix. And so that is, for me, a lazy activity. Trust me, I am not putting on The Office and pumping out push-ups or like jogging in place or anything like that. I sit down and I'm just trying to be lazy and get some rest. And I'll even take a break doing that. And I'll say, you know what? By the end of this episode, I'm going to feel good. I'm going to be well-rested and ready to go. And by the end of the episode, I'm like, shoot, I'm more tired than I was when this started. So clearly, the things that I do like leave me tired, as well as the things that I don't like. To summarize, I brought up 3 examples from my life that leave me tired. Not just things that I don't like, but things that I do like as well. I discussed doing schoolwork, I discussed socializing and partying, and then I discussed watching Netflix. I would encourage you to consider things in your own life which you may enjoy doing that leave you tired. It's probably not just only the things that you hate, but also the things that you enjoy doing in your day-to-day. For these reasons, I cannot stand by Jane Austen's quote that only that which I dislike leaves me fatigued. Thank you.
Thank you. Time.
Were you tired? 3.
What'd you like?
I thought you did like a really good job of like waking up audience and like moving around. Oh, I mean not moving around, but like sorry. You like spoke like a lot of like happiness.
Thank you.
Improvement.
Okay. I thought you could use a little more detail, like watching Netflix or partying. Like describe some of the party scenes, I suppose. Like that you get tired, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that because you had like plenty of time left.
Right.
And Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Cool. Thank you.
Troy, thank you for not using notes. You exceeded my expectations of that. You were able to make better eye contact and quality, and it compensated for a lot of the problems in the speech. Yeah, I think that I think you needed to give Jane Austen a little bit more credit for what she was getting at, which was choosing a life's career that you hate.
Yeah.
You're going to be dog tired, and you're going to be tired all your life.
Yeah.
And that's a truism and a counterfactual to your position. Having said that, though, I thought you made a good argument for disagreeing with her and did it well. I agree, though, you could have had much more detail. So on your significant statement was good. On your schoolwork, we needed to have a little bit more details, the cramming, taking the I don't know if you do this, but the caffeine drinks, whatever they call
Right.
monster drinks or whatever, all that
Stick to
crap.
coffee.
Yeah, and like that, and just give us more detail while you're fatigued. And then, yes, you're right. You do enjoy partying, but at the end of it, you're spent.
Yeah.
You're gone, and so you enjoyed it, but you're spent. So this was a good counterexample of that. And Netflix, I canceled my Netflix subscription because I found myself really watching too much. I got hooked on this one about the White House.
House of Cards.
House of Cards?
Yeah, and I couldn't stop watching the damn thing. And finally I go, I gotta stop watching this thing, And it was the same with The Good Wife. Oh my Lord, those 8 seasons. But I thought you made a good example that was cogent to your thesis. Done well. Summary, perfect. Enjoyable activities fatigue you. You came back to, that's why I disagree with Ms. Austen. And you had a good ending. So, good job.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next. I said someone was on deck. Why aren't they up here? Go, 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 go. Who's next?
I'm sorry, they're not in order.
Candace Bergman. What?
They're not in order. I can put them in order real quick if long as you're doing that.
So, Jane Austen, Virtue, and Maya Angelou. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3. Okay, Candace Bergman, yes. Candace, take a half step back, please. Yeah, let me get you into the frame, yes. Okay, help me. Keep an eye on me. Keep an eye on me. Move over there and have him move over here. Keep an eye on me, please. Okay. And we are rolling. Huh? Candace was given 3 topics, one from Jane Austen, one from Mary Wollstonecraft, and one from Maya Angelou. I am interested that we may hear the quote from the third one from Maya Angelou. What? Which she wrote, "We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated." I repeat, we may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated.
Hi everyone, I'm Candace.
Hi, Candace.
Raise your hand if you have a dream or a vision for how you would like your future to turn out. You're in college, that makes sense. Raise your hand if you've ever struggled or had to suffer to some extent to get where you are today. You're in college, that also makes sense. So Maya Angelou once said that we may suffer many defeats, but we must never be defeated. And I agree with this quote, and I want to go over 3 reasons, or 3 experiences from my own personal life as to why I agree with this quote. So sometimes in life, it really does feel like the universe is working against you. You finally are going to be able to pay rent on time, and then you get a flat tire. Or you finally have time to relax, and then your professor tells you that you have to write 3 impromptu speeches. But I'm here today to tell you that if you're willing to put in the work, the universe is willing and ready to give you everything that you could ever dream of. So my first defeat came when I was born. I know that sounds terrible, but I was not born in California. I was born and raised on a small farm outside of Jackson, Mississippi. My mom never graduated high school. My dad took a job as a plumber when he was 18, and last I heard, to this day, he is still a plumber. My parents are the living Southern stereotype, really. And just like a lot of other parents living in poverty, my parents were abusive. So my mom would beat my sisters and I daily, and then at least once a year, like clockwork, my mom would either threaten to kill me, as in, I'm going to stab you to death with this knife, or she would attempt to kill me by smothering me with pillows, things like that. And going through those things, I would just try to envision a future in which I was as far away from it as possible. And geographically, that meant California. I would try to picture a future for myself in which, I was trying to pick what city I wanted to live in, what college I wanted to go to, what job I wanted. And I decided I wanted to live in LA, and I wanted to go to UCLA. My second defeat came a little bit into my early 20s. So, growing up, we all say, as soon as I turn 18, I'm moving out. But it's not really like that. And so I got married when I was 19. I moved to Hawaii with my partner, but because of everything that my parents had done to me, I was not a good wife. And so my defeat came again when I got divorced at the age of 22. And then I was faced with the dilemma where I could not afford to live in Hawaii by myself, but I also there was no way I was going to move back to Mississippi. But then a good friend of mine contacted me and said, would you like to move to Orange County with me? I'm going to go to UCI. And I said, of course, why not? And so my third defeat came when I did end up moving to California.
Thank you.
And then when I applied to UCI, on the very last page, it said, would you like to apply to any of our other universities? And I saw UCLA, and the little 10-year-old inside of me was like, do it. And then my third defeat came when I actually did not get accepted into UCI. So again, my dreams were crushed. Until a week later when I got the email that I was accepted to UCLA. And so here I am, almost 14 years later, living the exact dream that I had planned for myself when I was 10 years old. So I hope that by sharing these 3 experiences with you, I've shown you that even though life gives you defeats, in the end, everything eventually will work out for you. your birth does not define you, and I know that everyone in this room has struggled to some extent, but those defeats do not define you as well. We may lose the battle but win the war. We may be defeated, or we may face many defeats, but we may never be defeated. Thank you.
Thank you. What was the time?
17.
4:17. That's what I had too. What'd you like? Hello, what'd you like? Come on.
My name is Samana.
Hi, Samana.
I thought the speech was great. I really don't have, it was just really good. I kind of love the stuff going on. I just really liked that you went in a chronological progression, and your intro tied in with where you began, and then your conclusion tied into your current circumstances. I thought that was really beautiful, and I'm a sucker for stories. So.
Yeah. Improvement.
I'm Elise.
Hi, Elise.
I really liked it. I also liked how it was chronological, and I got chills. I just forgot what the quote was, so I didn't mind at all. So.
Yeah, that was Candace. That was. Let me just say, I liked your speech. I liked your stories. They were good, and they made the speech sticky. You had a simple thesis. You, unfortunately, you could have done a better job of linking your stories to the quote so that we had a better sense of each of these stories and how you decided I wasn't going to be defeated by these setbacks, right? And, and Angelo's words really rang in my ears, see? You left it for us to infer that, and that's lazy. And you need to do more overt work to really be good. Now, I love the fact that you didn't use notes. Thank you. That was good. What I thought was so compelling about your speech was how authentic and honest it was. You told us about your parents, alcoholics, that beat the shit out of you and your sister. And that was quite dramatic and bad. And you told us you couldn't wait to get the heck out of MISSISSIBPI. And you did. But what I wanted, just kind of at the end, was even though I was defeated, I was determined not to let it define me and be the end of me, And then on we have a transition so that we go on to the next story, right? So, yeah, that was good. So I think that overall you did a marvelous job in not using notes, and you see, when you were rejected by UCI, that was a time again to re-invoke the quote and say, well, I could have been defeated and gone away and cried, but I didn't. I was hoping that you went into a little bit of your marriage and you blamed it all on yourself because of your abusive past. So I thought that was authentic and good. You had a pretty simple message, maybe too simple. Your stories were unexpected, which made the speech sticky. You had credibility because we believed you, and you told your stories in an authentic way. You made a great emotional connection with your audience, which also contributed to your stickiness. And, of course, you had the final two S's in the success acronym. You had stories and stories and more stories. So you internalized that lesson nicely. Thank you, Candace. Okay, next. And who's on deck?
I'm on deck.
Who's I?
Steve.
I think they're in order. I can't remember.
What?
The order, I'm not sure if they're in order. I can't remember.
Oh, great. Okay, where are you on this thing? You're Mitchell? You're Philip? You're Philip Boo? Calvin? Well, who are you, Philip Boo? I didn't see you on. Oh, there you are. Okay. Philip Boo. So, let's work this. So, memories is 1. The third Marshall is 2. Yes. And dreams to Jesse Owens is 3. Shh. Quiet, we're prepping. Okay. Let me take a look at this. Could you go to the front and be ready to speak? We may get your speech in. I want you to be very conscientious and look for that little green thing to turn red. If it does, stop it, because that means it will erase everything if I don't stop it. But I want to try to get it in. Usually we can get an hour. It's only at 46 minutes, so we should make it. All right, Mr. Philip Vu. All right. Okay, I think we'll switch gears a little bit. We've had enough Thurgood Marshall and Rosa Parks, and enough alarm clocks going off. Odd. What's at 3:13? Something. Okay. You had 3 quotes, one by Rosa Parks, one by Thurgood Marshall, and one by Jesse Owens, and you really are going to use a card, huh? Okay, well, that's your free country. People died in World War II, in Korea, and in Syria, so you have freedom of choice. You made your choice. Jesse Owens wrote, "We all have dreams. In order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort. 4 things. Determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort to make our dreams come into a reality." Mr. Vu, you may start anytime you're ready. Oh, you, okay, Let me get you. Okay, you're good.
So, hello everybody. My name is Philip.
Hi, Philip.
So, as a child, you're told to dream big. You're told to dream as big as you can, and by working hard, you'll be able to accomplish anything that you dream of. So, today, I'm here to discuss, in order to make your dreams become a reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort. So, my 3 reasons why I agree with this quote are because of the story of Muggsy Bogues, the shortest basketball player to ever live in the NBA, a story about my dad, and a story about Ray Lewis, who is one of the greatest linebackers of all time, who played 17 seasons with the Ravens. So, my first reason.
Thank you.
first reason is a story about Muggsy Bogues. And so Muggsy Bogues is, again, the shortest basketball player to ever live. He was only 5'3". And it's pretty incredible that a player that could make it all the way to the best league in the entire world for basketball to be at 5'3" in a sport where height is a big deal.
Yeah.
So Muggsy Bogues played 15 seasons. He was averaging, he wasn't the greatest player, but he averaged 8 points a game, which is very solid. He was a solid role player, and he shot very efficiently from field goal. He shot about 50%, which is like pretty dang high. But anyways, as a child, he was able to dominate his competition, even being way shorter than everybody. But still, no one really believed that he could make it to the highest level. And so when he finally got drafted, it was kind of a validation of his biggest dreams as a kid to make some NBA. So working hard did well for him. My second reason was a story about my dad. And so my dad came here from Vietnam. He came here on a boat. Yeah, he was fresh off the boat. And he didn't even really speak English that well, or at all. So coming here was like extremely difficult for him, but he always believed that if he worked hard, he respected others, he'd be able to make it. And his dream was to become a professor and to inspire the youth. And so my dad ended up getting his PhD at University of California, Irvine, in electrical engineering, and after this, he was able to teach there for 10 years. He ended up moving on to microsemi, but what I thought was really cool was someone who struggled to teach me algebra when I was a kid because of his thick accent was able to become a professor later on in life. My third reason is about a story about Ray Lewis. And Ray Lewis is, again, one of the greatest linebackers of this generation. If you don't know, he played every single season, 17 seasons for the Ravens, one of the best players ever. But most people don't know that Ray Lewis was actually a motivational speaker. And so one of his greatest speeches talks about how, as a kid, his stepmom or his stepdad would beat him and his mom every single day. And he asked his mom for a deck of cards. And his mom said, "Oh, I don't raise any gamblers." And he said, "Please, Mom, just give me a deck of cards." And the next time his stepdad beat his mom so bad, he'd go into the garage and he'd flip a deck of cards over. He'd flip every single card, a 4, he'd do 4 push-ups, 10 push-ups. He would do the entire deck. And he said that for him, his dream wasn't just to play in the NFL. His dream was to get him and his mom into a better situation. And so when he became 12, he said that he fought back against his dad, and his stepdad never laid a finger on his mom ever again. And so for him, his dream wasn't just for him. He dreamt so big that it was a dream for him and his mom. So in summary, I hope, Jesus Christ, you can attain all your dreams through hard work and determination. There should be no doubt in this room that the story of Muggsy Bogues, my dad, and Ray Lewis really prove that you can attain all your dreams through determination. And I think one of my favorite quotes is, "Hard work will always beat talent when talent does not work hard." Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Keep your eye on this green thing. I don't want it to go red, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Would you like, please?
Also, my name is Angela. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Angela.
So what I liked is that you use 3 different things. So your personal life, a basketball player, and an inspirational. I like how it's not just all the same thing. So it had variety of different types of examples.
Okay. Improvement.
Hi, my name is Anita.
Hi, Anita.
So yeah, I like the way you did your speech and the way you moved effectively. Maybe, I don't know, I don't really, maybe one thing was I think you did pretty good. I don't think you really needed the new cards. So I think you would have been fine without them. Because you had everything down and all your stories were really good. So I think that's the only thing I would say.
Yeah. Well, it was a good speech. You got it done. I'm gonna say the same things I've said to some of the others, that I need a stronger tie to the quote at the end of each of your segments so that we really link into the hard work you can accomplish anything. And I didn't really get that every time. I didn't think your intro was particularly sterling or grabbing. I think it could have been better. Your Ray Lewis thing was okay. Your Muggsy Bugsy, or whatever his name was you linked it to his hard work, and despite his weight, he was a productive player all his life. That sort of tied back into the quote, but what you needed to do is say exactly the quote again, which is to say so. See what I'm saying? Specifically say it again, yeah. And the same with your father, and his ability to, and we didn't really get much about his hard work and so forth, but that would have been better, and to tie it back to the quote. Now, Ray Lewis, you say he was a motivational speaker, but I don't know how that linked and related to the concept of working hard, except that he guessed he was inspiring others and used himself as an example. So your summary was, you can attain your dreams through determination, hard work, self-discipline, and effort. And your conclusion was, your stories perfectly illustrate the point. They did, but they didn't at the time you were making them. So, and your tie back wasn't really to an intro, but it was to a new quote at the end. So you got the job done. Unfortunately, you used a card, but you got it done. Thank you. Okay, next. How many do we have left that's not on the board? One? Just one. You're going to be able to do it after class?
I've done it already.
She did it last
You already did it last time? You did your impromptu already? Oh, I stand corrected. Okay, good. Yes, you did, okay. So, we have 3 left? Yeah, we'll make it, huh? Yeah, good. Okay, rock and roll, babe. We have 2 left?
Which one?
Pick which one.
Who are you?
Steve, I want the company quotes.
Steve Kim. And where are you, Steve? Oh, boy, we're not going to make it. I've got to change the battery. I know it's green, but it's at an hour, and you know what that means. At any moment, it will die.